So for a long time, the primary way that we in the West engaged with developing countries was we'd raise a bunch of money and we'd give it to them. Became super popular, right? I had to paste Bono up here. But as time went on and poor countries, things weren't really getting better, we realized we had to do things a little bit differently. We had to go in, get on the ground, kind of understand what was going on there. And so that's what we did. And that's still what we do today. This is a picture of me in a slum in Nairobi going door to door asking people about their economic lives. Now, this is an improvement for sure, right? Some data is better than no data, but you're not really going to understand the texture of what's going on the ground with so little data. It's just not enough. The fact is, data has become the currency of our time. Folks at NGOs and nonprofits, they work day in and day out trying to get these insights, but they just don't have the right tools. And this is what we build at Simba. At Simba, we make it inexpensive and easy to send surveys out to large groups of people pretty much anywhere in the world. This is no small task. I mean, mobile technology, it has changed things for us, but it's not in the way that we understand it. The guy in this picture, he's probably not holding a smartphone. And even if he were, it's unlikely he has the kind of internet access he would need to use it the way we do. We need something very nimble, something very simple. And it turns out that in a lot of places, text messaging people is the easiest way to get a hold of them. So that's what we do. We make it simple and easy to text message out, surveys, feedback, data, all that kind of stuff to a lot of different people, pull that in and leverage advanced analytics, things like AI, machine learning, even things like synthetic data to do projections and really understand and parse out the variables on the ground, right? Really understand what's going on. Now, this gives us an opportunity because over time, we can kind of corner some IP on this when we dig into really what is important in these areas, how do we think about it, what models can we build, right? But it also gives NGOs access to tools that there's no way that they could build themselves. And as a result, NGOs and nonprofits have access to customer insights and intelligence the way we do in tech, the kind of stuff that we use every day to make decisions. All of a sudden, their programs, they can pivot and they can react. If there's a crisis somewhere in the world, they're able to go into it. What's going on there on the ground? What are the variables at play? And roll out something that is the most likely to make a difference. This is a problem that my co-founder, Katie Simon, and I have been working on for about a year. We both have decade-plus careers in tech, her as a software engineer, me managing programs that leverage big data to handle decision-making and customer analysis. We met, as Chrissy was saying, as early employees at Venmo, immediately bonded over shared values, and take this perspective and experience to the complicated problem of how we solve last-mile data in these very challenging environments. Now, let's dig into the numbers. If you're familiar with Palantir, we take a Palantir-style approach to the way that we engage with organizations and the data that we collect, charging a fixed annual fee tiered to the size of the organization for use of both our survey software and our analytics tools. Now, the fee that you see here is for a larger organization, and it's about 10% what they would spend per country doing this exact same thing. Given the number of organizations and programs and projects that are going on all around the world, it's really huge. There's sizable opportunity for annual revenue. And just to level set, we don't really think about it like this, but this industry is huge. Americans donated $470 billion to charity in 2020. This amounts to about $16 billion spent on monitoring and evaluation, the area that we work in, and controlling for a number of different variables, we're looking at about a $6 billion serviceable market. Now, with such a giant market, obviously there's other players in the space. The main competitor, I guess if you want to call it that, are these internal nonprofit groups that go around door to door with pen and paper getting information. But there are a lot of consulting firms that work in this area too. And of course, there are tech companies that do try to solve this problem, but the way they usually do it is what would be intuitive for you or me. They build apps, they do stuff for smartphones, they do stuff for tablets, and honestly, this guy doesn't have a smartphone, right? So it doesn't work. We're still back at the problem of scale. Now, some organizations do this very, very well down here at the lower right. These are like grassroots organizations, often in healthcare and agriculture, things like that. They're really trying to solve a problem. This is how we know it works. For small organizations that do this, it works really well. But they're not technology companies. They can't scale. Me and Katie's goal is to make this ubiquitous throughout the industry. Now, in terms of where we're actually at, we have an MVP, we just soft launched in Zambia, and we have a number of pilots and programs launching over the summer and through the rest of the year to really dial in that last mile piece, because if we don't get that right for people, the user experience, for people that are different than us, right, we're not gonna get that big data we need to do really interesting stuff. So for example, we're partnering with a Kenyan farming cooperative. They'd like to be able to access export markets, but the quality of their yield, it's not at export standards. So we're working with a local social enterprise, build out some tools, some survey stuff, some monitoring, et cetera, so they can adopt advanced farming techniques, improve the quality of their yield, and access export markets, which would just change the game for people in this small rural community. Now, the problem of last mile data, it is a little piece in a really big puzzle, but it's something that we can and need to do better if we're gonna move the needle. At Simba, we run lean. It's part of our ethos. Just look at the people we work with, right? It's important for us to gain their trust. So we have a bootstrap budget through the end of the year, but we are raising a $500,000 round to give us runway through 2023, so we can grow, operate in additional countries, and take on some staff to build those ML models and that kind of stuff that we love and find so interesting. Let's give NGOs and the people they serve the technology that they deserve. Thank you.